Okay. We are in, yes, it's running. We are in Revelation chapter 6. Unfortunately, our parish printer was offline this morning, so I couldn't print handouts for you. I'm sorry about that. So I'll have to work off my handout, which is on my tablet here. Okay, so up through Revelation 5, we have the introduction as Jesus as the son of Adam, the second Adam, a vision of his divinity. He tells St. John to write letters to the 7 churches. And in chapter 5, suddenly now we have the beginning of another vision. The one who sits on the throne, who has a scroll, a biblion, with 7 seals, and only the Lamb, who is Jesus, the son of Adam, fully God, fully man, only the Lamb is worthy to open the scroll. And so now we here are in chapter 6, and the Lamb, Jesus, Son of God, Son of Man, will now begin to open the 7 seals of the scroll, thus revealing the first of 3 visions. Now there's going to be, I'll give you a little bit of oversight or structure. Revelation 6 through 16, so about 11 chapters, is going to have 3 visions, okay? And each of those 3 major visions are going to have 7 parts to it. All right, so the 3 visions. Do I have a marker? This is the first of the 3 visions, and there will be 7 parts to it. So there's 3 major visions in Revelation 6 through 16. And each of those visions will be 7-fold. 7 parts to the vision. And in this first of the 3 visions, there is 7 folds for 7 seals, right? And that is depicting, all of these will be depicting 3 things. That which happens upon the earth, that which happens in the cosmos or the heavens, and that which will happen at the telos, the end of the age. Whoa. All right. So 3 visions, 7-fold visions. That which is happening on the earth, that which is happening in the heavenly cosmos battles between the spiritual powers of good versus evil, and that which happens at the very end of the age.
When you said 3 visions and then 7-fold, do you mean within each of the folds of those visions, like the first fold, the second fold, each one has 3 visions in it?
No, there's 3 major visions. That which is happening on the earth, that which is happening in the cosmos, and that which is happening at the end of the age. But then also within each of those 3 visions, there is a 7-fold aspect to it. Okay, does that make sense? It's like your Roman numerals. It's subdividing everything out, right? And it's important here to understand that all of these things, whether upon the earth or the cosmic battle or the things that happen to the end, are not necessarily mentioning specifics, like some theologians and other denominations like to have the New York Times in one hand and the Bible in the other, and their predictions, making specific predictions, always fail because they don't understand how to look at the book of Revelation. So there's been guys like Jack Van Impe, who was famous on Christian TV for a while, Kenneth Copeland is another infamous dispensational theologian. We'll talk about dispensationalism when we do comparative religion at the end of the book. Hal Lindsey wrote a book, 88 Reasons Why Jesus Christ is Coming Back in 1988. What year is it? It's not 1988 anymore. Some of us Gen Xers still wish it was, but it's not, right? And it would be fun again, but those days are over, right? So we are 30-some years past 1988, and Hal Lindsey made a specific interpretation. He had the book of Revelation in one hand, along with the other prophetic writings, and then he had the New York Times and CNN or whatever else was around back then. Probably not CNN. That was before cable. Was that before cable TV? You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Was that before? I can't remember. Right?
When did you say?
1988.
No, there was cable TV then.
Was there? Okay.
Yeah,
I know they had satellite TV back then.
Yeah, we had cable back in 1983.
83. Wow. Okay. So yeah, you try to take the specific circumstances upon the earth, the things that men are going through in real time, and then you take the book of Revelation, you say, aha, I know who the Antichrist is. It's this person. Oops, I was wrong. It's this person. Oops, I was wrong. It's this person. Oops, I was wrong. In the Old Testament, if you had a false prophet, they would stone them to death. They would kill them, right? Somehow we keep sending our money, or I don't, but some Christians keep sending their money to guys on television who are wrong over and over and over and over again, right? Yes?
Didn't the Jehovah's Witnesses finally had to quit predicting the end of the last day because every time they did, they lost members?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of cults and sects, S-E-C-T-S, within Christendom who, on the end times, the things that tell us, the things at the end of the age, are consistently wrong over and over and over again. Yet they have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers, and some of these guys own private jets and mansions. You would think people would use some discernment, but as Jesus says in the scriptures, in the last days, people are going to be fooled by things, right? There's not going to be a lot of wisdom going around. So these things aren't like, hey, King Juan Carlos of Spain is the Antichrist, which is something Jack Van Impe predicted, and he was wrong again, right? No, it's supposed to tell us the conditions, the context, and the types of circumstances that humanity will be experiencing as things get closer to the end. Now, Jesus in the Gospels talks about these end things like birth pangs. Now, I myself do not know what that means, but I've seen a little bit in action and it doesn't look too pleasant. But if I remember correctly, you start out in pain, and then there's little respites where you're taking your breath, and then all of a sudden the contractions return, and then
it gets stronger.
It gets stronger, and the frequency between the breaks gets shorter, and it happens more rapidly until the end, right? When a child is born into the world. Thus it is like the Son of Man coming at the end of the age. The intensity, the frequency, the severity of the birth pangs will increase and get worse until he is born anew into the world.
And that's the thing about it. Once it's over, you don't remember it. And that's kind of how the way you said it, that you go through it and then...
Well, that's what Jesus says, and you're agreeing with Jesus, so that's good.
Yeah.
But I've talked with some ladies, and they're like, yeah, I still remember it.
It's there, but it's not as...
You remember because you have this blessing.
Yeah. So every time when you look at your child, you're like, I remember the pain. The pain! I'm just joking. You're all the children are a blessing, right? All right, very good. All right, so basically it's supposed to show the typology or the metaphorical or the similarities of the horrors of the conditions that are happening upon the earth. And all of this begins with the ascension of Christ to the right hand of the Father. Remember chapter 5, the Lamb is at the right hand of the one who sits on the throne. And these things will continue all the way up to the very end when Jesus is sent back to the earth by the Father. All right. So, what is this first vision with its sevenfold structure? Remember, we have a biblos, a book with 7 seals, right? So, we have the first of the sevenfold structure, and within that sevenfold structure, there's another sevenfold structure, right? 7 being the number of God. God rested on the 7th day, etc., etc., etc. The number 7 comes up quite frequently. All right, so if someone would read Revelation chapter 6 up through verse 8, 1 through 8.
Now I watched when the Lamb opened one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures say with a voice like thunder, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a white horse, and its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him. And he came out conquering and to conquer. When he opened the 2nd seal, I heard the 2nd living creature say, "Come." And out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that people should slay one another, and he was given a great sword. When he opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd living creature say, "Come." And it looked, and behold, a black horse, and its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine." When he opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the living creature say, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him. And they were given authority over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword and with famine and with pestilence, thank you, and by wild beasts of the earth.
Very good, thank you. All right. So here we have the first of the sevenfold visions, of the 3 major visions, everything that's happening on the earth, in the cosmos, in the heavenly battles, and ultimately at the very end of the age. All right, so let's look at the first of the sevenfold structure here. The sevenfold structure, the 7 seals of the sevenfold structure, right? Very complicated, right? A lot of numbers. All right, so this is conditions, contexts, and circumstances that humanity is facing. Now, there are 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, right? The first is a white horse with its rider, then a red horse with his rider, a black horse with his rider, and finally what is often translated as pale horse. And in the Greek, I believe this is like pale green, like a ghostly or ghastly green color. We say pale. I don't know if that's like chartreuse. What's your favorite pale, ugly green? It signifies gangrene death, right? All right. So now remember, this is everything that's happening from Jesus' ascension to the right hand of the Father till the very end of the age. So these 4 horsemen have already been unleashed upon the earth, and they are working, and they have authority to do what God has allowed them to do upon the inhabitants of the earth, right? Now, why does God allow pain and suffering and sorrow and judgment. All right. First, we have to recognize that the two major themes in both the Old and New Testament are what? Always the same. What are the two major themes? Law and gospel, right? So there's law and then there's gospel. Right? There's judgment, which has its purpose. The law has a purpose. The curb. Right? What else? Mirror and rule or guide, right? Three purposes of the law. The law kills, but the gospel makes alive, Luther writes. So the gospel also has its purpose, right? It's forgiveness, life, and salvation. It also has three purposes. Right? So, why does the Lord give St. John the vision of the four horsemen? It's to help him realize when he's looking around at the world and he's wondering, remember, he's on the island of Patmos because of the testimony of God. He's not there because he objected to paying taxes. He's not there because he stole something. He's not there for any other reason because of his belief in law and gospel and the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And he was sharing that good news with others, right? So he's suffering in isolation on a desert island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea because of the testimony of God. Would a just and godly system send one of the apostles to exile and murder and kill all the other apostles and many, what would eventually be millions upon millions upon millions, as we're going to see in the fifth seal when it's broken, of Christians who believe law and gospel, repentance, and the forgiveness of sins? No, a just system would not do that. So the four horsemen symbolize the work of the law in a fallen creation, right? And the first of those four, beginning in chapter 6, verse number 1, and I saw when opened the Lamb one of the seven seals, or the first of the seven seals, and I heard one of the four living beings, remember the four living creatures are around the throne in the previous chapter, saying with the sound of thunder, "Come," erkou in the Greek. And I saw and behold a white horse, and the one sitting on it, or on the horse, having a bow. What is a bow? It's a symbol for a weapon of...
Oh, you're talking about bow and arrow.
Yes.
I was thinking of a bow.
Rainbow.
No, I was thinking of a bow and a hare.
It's not My Little Pony. It's the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Well, that's why I come here.
You ever see there's a cartoon that melds those two, My Little Pony, da, 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 da. Yeah, well, there's somebody who took the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse and made the My Little Ponies into, and it's a claymation thing, you know, the old cartoon claymation.
Gummy.
My Little Pony, Apocalypse Pony, punishing kids for their sins. You never seen
that.
And then you've never seen that cartoon?
No,
it's on YouTube. I'll show it to you. And I'm Death Pony, roar, and he breathes on them, and all the kids are like, ah. No, it's not a bow in his hair.
Well, it's just seemed.
It's a bit more destructive.
Masculine.
It's a bit more masculine, a bit more destructive than that. So he has a bow in his hand, a bow of war, bows and arrows, and was given to him. Now, who can give the authority? God can. A crown. What is a symbol of a crown? Or
Thorns.
kingship, right?
Well,
and what do kings do? They rule, they reign. So he has the authority on his head. The white horse itself symbolizes kingship. The crown reaffirms kingship. He is a king of war who has been given the authority to what? Nikon, Nike, victory. That he might, Nikese, that he might conquer. So he's conquering, he has the authority to conquer, and he has the might to conquer. Right? This is symbolic, since this horse is doing what it is doing. Now think about the world, right? So the white horse has the authority from God. It's a symbol of government ordained by God. However, what does government? It has the authority from God, but government under fallen men tends to do what? Be nice and special and corrupt, tyrannical, right? Fallen men have the authority. They have the white horse, they have the crown, but they're still fallen men. So we end up in tyranny and dictatorships, right? They conquer and they have the might to conquer. This is all the symbol of dominance, military power, inhumanity through government, exploitation, fear reigning. What are you going to do about it? Not much. Right? Recently, even now, if you've been tracking the news the last couple of weeks, a certain list came out. And who is on the list?
A lot of big names.
Almost all the big names, right? So in other words, the entire world system, the people who have the authority, they have the power, they're tyrannical and they're corrupt and they're perverted and they're greedy and they're evil. What are you going to do about it? Hold up your little sign. I protest. Well, we could try. Do they care? No, they don't care. They don't care. They are going to be tyrannical. They're going to use dictatorial powers. They're going to spread terror. They're going to use military might. Oh, by the way, we're sending a third aircraft carrier task force to the Arabian Sea to attack a country on the other side of the planet because another country wants us to attack them, right? Does that sound, have we been attacked? No. Then why are we attacking? It's an unjust war, right? The white horse and the rider who wears his crown is even working through all countries, right? There's tyranny, dictatorship, military power, dominance, one group of men trying to dominate the other. None of it is godly, right? And yet, he has been unleashed. The second one, the second seal, any questions so far?
Well, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you say about the attacking the stuff, but when you hear the Christians over there are being beheaded or murdered, isn't that a reason to save those people?
Yeah, I mean, how do you know that what you're being told is true?
True, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But it's just the whole ideology of what they're doing. I mean, this is not a good country anyway, and the people that are there.
So, do we believe in this concept that one country is good and the other country is bad?
In the sense of what they do to people.
Yeah, just to play devil advocate.
Yeah.
But because of the country is so dictatorial, why blame all the people of the country? They can only know what they're taught. They don't have exposure to Christianity.
Well,
can't
they did. They had
necessarily
Christian
believe.
people were
So
there.
it's the leaders of the country that are creating the problem, not the little people. You go to war, who are you going to kill?
You have to remember, there's a thing in military and human history called statecraft. And the people who have the power want to maintain the power. And this is regardless of the country. I guarantee you American elites want to maintain power. Would you agree with me on that?
True.
Would you agree with me that they would?
I mean, I think.
Would they maintain power at any cost?
Yes.
Well, I mean, we could debate about that. What does it mean, right?
I'd rather be more in control.
If you're living in Iran, if you're a Christian or a Jew, and there are Christians and Jews and Muslims, mostly Muslims, and a certain variety of Muslims in Iran, they're told by their authorities, Iran good, America Satan. We're told by our authorities, United States good, Iran Satan, right? And this group battles this group. They say, well, they're the leading state sponsor of terrorism. And then Iran's officials say America is the lead sponsor of terrorism throughout the world. Both sides accuse each other of the exact same thing, right? Now the assumption is you could just take your leader's word at face value. If an American leader say, oh, these people are bad, and everything they do is bad, I could choose to believe every part of what they say, all of what they say. How do I confirm what they say is true? I don't know. You'd have to try to figure it out, right? If you're an Iranian and they're saying all the same thing about America, how do you confirm that what your leaders are saying are true? I don't know. I'm not even sure I know exactly who's in the right and who's in the wrong on every single aspect of every single issue. I don't know. What I do know is human history is full of this sort of back and forth combat. And typically what happens, for the most part, it's the people who suffer. The elites in this system or that system continue to go on, right? We just talked about the Epstein thing. Who's been arrested?
Nobody.
Why have they broken the law?
Absolutely.
It certainly appears that. Then why haven't they been arrested?
Because they're rich and powerful.
Right. So the Democrats had these documents. They arrested nobody. And you think to yourself, well, the Republicans are better. They get into power, and they've already said,
If they were poor, they wouldn't have been protected.
we're not going to arrest anyone. So you have the Democrats who have the knowledge, the Republicans who have the knowledge, but the net is the same. No justice is served. You have thousands of victims, but no justice. If you watched the Attorney General's speech before Congress yesterday, and the Congress people asked the question, why hasn't anyone been arrested? Her response was literally, quote unquote, are you kidding me? The Dow Jones is 50,000 points. And one of the Congress people, who I don't even like on 90% of the issues, kind of jeered and said, what does that have to do with the victims and justice? And she said, are you kidding me? In other words, she's trying to tell them, if we arrest these people, the Dow is not going to be 50,000 points. That's going to affect your 401ks. It's going to affect, this is all about money and power and authority, domination, tyranny, no justice, right? So we can look at Iran and say, kill them all. They're bad people.
I didn't mean kill them.
I mean, there are people who want to do that.
Yeah,
we have politicians and American voters who want to do
I've
that.
heard, and people that have been there reporting say that they have seen. That's why I just wondered.
Well, that's part of statecraft. I mean, they may be doing all those things. I don't know. I can choose to believe reporters and whoever. I can believe the U.S. government. I don't know. But what I do know is that there probably is great evil going on over there. But guess what? There's also great evil right in our backyard. Right? So it's very simplistic for us to say, and people do this all the time, no matter if you watch a left-wing channel or a right-wing channel, and they try to make this political. For Christianity, this is a spiritual battle. Right? Yes, go ahead.
I say let's let God sort it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's not much you and I can do to change Iran or to change the United States, right? whenever things are out of control, we don't like to focus on ourselves or our household or even our community. What we do is, well, let's change the country. Let's change the whole world. Well, if we can't even change our own community or our household or ourselves, how are we going to change the country or change the world, right? The scripture is telling us right here that God has unleashed 4 horsemen to bring law to the world, right? The wages of sin is what? Death. I'm a sinner, you're a sinner, Trump's a sinner, Biden's a sinner, the Ayatollah of Khomeini is a sinner, and all their people and all our people are all sinners. There is injustice in our country, there's injustice in their country. There's sin abounding throughout the entire world, right? And the wages of sin is death. Now, the two purposes of law, right? Well, you got curb, mirror, and guide. But ultimately, there's two possibilities. One is fear, which drives you away from faith. And the other response is hope that embraces faith in the midst of the trial and the tribulation. The same people that look at the white horse, the ghastly green horse, the red horse, and what's the black horse, say there is no God. Right? The same people who look at the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse and all the circumstances that are happening even this week in the United States and around the world say Christ is coming again. Right? He shall come again to judge both the living and the dead, as we will confess in the creed this morning. Right? And yet, it is God ordained that there should be judgment. Whenever the law it comes, right, it has the three purposes of to curb the flesh, or as Paul would say to the church at Rome, to punish the evildoers. Was it Romans 13? The government does not bear the sword for nothing, right? To punish the evildoers, to curb evil, right? It's amazing how in other countries that don't have our system, and we say, oh, well, we have rights, they have higher and quicker rates of execution, and they have lower crime rates, right? In other words, I'm not saying we should have that. I'm saying it is very efficient. If you are going to get your hand cut off for stealing something, or you're going to have your head lifted from your neck for doing it again and again, you might think twice about stealing something. Yes?
So are you saying Trump is riding the white horse? He's wearing the crown?
I'm saying they're all of them. It's very simplistic. This isn't political for Christians. Now, there are